The monster attacked straight at the ship, and it blew up. Ji-young and the rest of the hunters on the ship fell down. But Ji-young landed on the ground and told everyone to change the plan. She ordered all forces to focus on destroying the boss monster. She turned around and thought about where Mr. Satoru was. Then, she thought that he would be fine since he wouldn't die just like that. Ji-young used the skill Hellfire and attacked the monster. Meanwhile, Haruto survived the fall from the web formed around him. He thought that this was only the second time he had seen this skill, but it was really impressive. He would have to copy it someday. But for now, the priority was to copy the long sword of the Clasia Dragon. Meanwhile, some masked people were moving along the Rainbow Bridge. The guy in the purple cloak said that the appearance of the monsters was unexpected. One wrong move, and they could be in danger too. Right on the contrary, it would be to their advantage. Hunter Ji-young and the rest of the association would be busy for a while. Killing the boss monster was the fastest way to compress the outbreak. During this time, they would take the long sword of the Clasia Dragon. He ordered the other masked guys to move stealthily so as not to run into the monsters. Meanwhile, Haruto, in searching for a sword, walked past the corpses of monsters. He thought that this was obviously the work of hunters, but the problem was that these monsters usually acted in packs. Suddenly, Haruto heard someone shouting to run. Satoru replied, "No, I can handle these monsters." The armored guy held his hand to his wound and told him to listen, saying he needed to run. Otherwise, they would both be in trouble. Satoru asked with displeasure how he could abandon him. Haruto watched them from behind a car and thought that they were hunters controlling the dungeon entrance. "But I can't get distracted," he thought. "I've got my own problems. They will manage on their own somehow." The armored guy shouted with displeasure, "Don't you know why these low-ranking wolves are in such a difficult dungeon? When they gather in packs, their power is equivalent to a high-level monster. If a couple are here, it means soon this place will be swarming with them." Suddenly, a pack of wolves emerged from the darkness. Satoru angrily clenched his teeth and said, "I don't care. My senior is injured, and now it's my turn to protect him." Haruto looked at Satoru and remembered how he had helped his junior in the dungeon. Satoru began to deal with the wolves, but one attacked him from behind. Haruto blocked the wolves' attack with his shoulder. Haruto turned to him and asked, "Are you okay?" Satoru said in a frightened tone, "There are still many of them." Another pack of wolves came out of the darkness. Satoru thanked him for his help and told him to run away quickly, saying even high-level hunters wouldn't be able to handle such a huge pack. Haruto smiled confidently and said, "This is perfect." He thought about putting them up for auction, but suddenly a pack of wolves rushed at him. He said, "If you combine the rod of the great spider with my skill, I always wondered how effective it would be against a large group of monsters." Satoru watched in fear as suddenly the web of the great spider began to bind all the wolves. After a while, a huge pillar of web tied with wolves appeared. The system notified Haruto that his level had increased. Haruto exhaled and said, "Simply binding does not give a big increase in level. However, as expected, the technique works well against the pack. But I need to find a way to attack after binding monsters." Satoru thought in surprise. He neutralized an entire pack in one go. What kind of skill was that? Could it be a unique skill from a high-level hunter? The armored guy thanked him for his help and asked if he was by any chance reinforcements from the association. Haruto agreed in confusion, thinking about the fact that they had arrived on the same helicopter, so it wasn't a lie. The armored guy asked Haruto to take Satoru with him, but Satoru walked up to him, grabbed his shoulders, and refused, saying that he would not abandon him even if it killed him. The armored guy said that Satoru would be safe with Haruto. Haruto watched in surprise at Satoru's loyalty and exhaled heavily. He thought that in any case, in this state, they were both in danger. It was a pity, but there was no other way. Haruto opened his inventory, took out a bottle of red potion, gave it to the armored man, and said, "This is a mid-level potion. You won't be able to fight, but you'll be able to stand on your feet." The guy asked in surprise, "Why are you giving me such a valuable thing?" Haruto turned back and said with a smile, "You will return alive with your junior." Satoru was surprised and thought how cool Haruto was. He bowed, thanked him, and said, "I am a dungeon management hunter, Kong Satoru. Please at least tell me your name. I will definitely repay this favor." Haruto, looking at the distance of the bridge, then turned around and awkwardly asked, "Forget the name. You can repay the favor now. I'm looking for the International Hunter Association truck. Could you tell me where it is?" Satoru looked at him questioningly and thought, "Huh." Meanwhile, near the truck, a bear monster fell to the ground. Grant asked, "Did you just put it to sleep again?" Suddenly, a metal ball appeared in front of them, but Grant skillfully cut it with an attack. While smirking, he said, "I knew someone would take advantage of this chaos to steal the sword." Grant called out, "Come out, you scumbags." A masked man with his men appeared in front of them. He said, "Your insight is impressive. Well, let's see what you can do," and attacked Grant. Grant repelled the masked man's attack and smirked, saying, "Don't underestimate us. We are the guards of the legendary weapon." Grant rushed to attack the enemy when suddenly something hit his body. He fell to his knees and began coughing up blood. Ares ran as fast as she could towards him. Grant asked, "What's going on?" "What's wrong with me?" Ares said, "They sprayed a poison that deals damage and blocks mana absorption. If you continue to fight, it will kill you." The masked man said, "At least the mage has good intuition. We did not underestimate you, since this is just our usual way of working." Ares gritted her teeth angrily and thought, "The usual way? Using poison against humans despite the association ban." She said, "I will make you regret what you've done." The masked man started attacking and said, "How is a mage who cannot use mana going to do this? Just die already. The legendary sword will be ours." Suddenly, something killed the masked man's assistant from behind. The other masked men looked at the monster questioningly and asked, "What's going on?" The enraged bear monster started attacking them, while the masked man with the purple cloak began to run from the battlefield. He thought about the fact that the bear was not dead. She had only put it to sleep. They had to retreat. Then the monster headed towards Grant. Breathing heavily, Grant asked, "Can you try putting it to sleep again?" Ares asked, "Have you forgotten I can't absorb mana?" Grant said with displeasure, "I knew your sleep spell would backfire on you one day. It seems today is that day." Ares smiled confidently and said, "Indeed, but you don't have to die because of me." She stood up and charged at the monster using magic. Grant asked, "What are you doing?" Suddenly, blood gushed out of Ares' mouth. She thought, "The mana absorption block is blocking my abilities completely," as the monster charged at her.